Welcome to SethCraft. The Sainsmart Genmitsu 6050 CNC machine has arrived. This box is heavy. The label says 90 pounds, and I believe every bit of that. So make sure you have somebody help you whenever you go moving this big box around. What I'd like to do now is do an unboxing and assembly of this CNC machine. And then later on, I will do some projects with this. So let's go ahead and get this thing opened up so we can take a look at its contents. All right here on top, there is a user manual. So I'll be going through that real quick. It looks like it also has the nice color detailed instructions on how to assemble this. I assembled one of the other Sainsmart Genmitsu products, and it was a really pleasant process to have that color instruction booklet. So we'll go through that here in just a moment. As far as packaging goes, it's got what seems to be a nice setup. Wow, let me show you this real quick. Check this out. It's quite the layout. All right, where to begin? Looks like we've got our rails here, the X and Y axis, and we've got the control board down in here. We've got the adapters for different routers. I think what I'll do is just pull everything out and get it on my workbench here, and then we will kind of take a look at everything. So, all right, here we go. There's the spindle that this unit comes with. Now, this does have the adapter so you can use a router as well. This seems to be a pretty good size little spindle. Data cable, power cable. Got the Z probe there. Several little bits, multiple bags of hardware. When you get to that part, you can lift this whole section up and access that control box under there. You don't have to pull it through because the knob will get in the way from lifting that out. After pulling all the contents out of the box, I very quickly ran out of room. So I've laid out all of the hardware here with the Allen wrench and the rubber feet. Got the gasket, the bearings, all these screws here. This is the base, which thankfully it is somewhat assembled already. There's also all the stepper motors and even more hardware over here. There's your screw. I've also placed the Z-axis, X-axis over here with the base boards, and the control module is over here as well. So instead of going through everything individually, I think what I'm going to do is just begin the assembly process, and that will give us the chance to look at everything as it's going together. So let's go ahead and jump in to the build. The very first step is to flip the base over and install the rubber feet. So I'm going to pick this up real quick and hopefully flip it over. So it comes with rubber feet. Let me pull one of these out of the bag. You can see right there, and that's just going to go on the four corners, and it says to use the M520 screws. Luckily, all of the screws do have labels on them, and that makes this nice and convenient. So I'm going to get that into position, and then I've also got a pack of included Allen wrenches. Let's see what we got here. Yep, that's the correct one. Now that I have the feet on, the next step is to get the XY assembly done. So this kit does come with two bearings. I'm going to pull one of these out here, and I'm going to place one of those into the hole here on the front of the machine. I'm going to place this right in here. Has a nice easy fit. After the bearing is installed, it's time to get the lead screw in. Now there's one side that has a shorter milled piece and one side that has a longer. The longer side is going to go towards the stepper motor, and this one's going to go towards the bearing. Just going to place the lead screw through here. Now watch this. Whenever I start to thread this in, it's going to get to a certain spot and then stop. That's because the anti-backlash is going to keep this from going any further. There's a spring on this side if I press this down, and you have to push it in, and then you can thread the rod and it will go all the way through like this right here. All right, let's go ahead and butt this up against that bushing there, or that bearing. Now I'm going to take the other bearing included with this kit and place this into the other side. Now I'm going to use the bearing fixing plate, which is found in this bag right here. It's this big metal plate, and this is going to fit onto this. There's a line on this plate that needs to go down to have the proper alignment on that bearing. Alright, so in this bag there's the M5/16 socket cap screws, but also the M5 flat washer and M5 spring washer. So I made the mistake of putting one with a washer in here, and now I can't get it out. So I was supposed to use the one that did not have a washer on there. That would have basically sunk down and been flush, but now I need to find some way of getting this thing out of here because it is pretty stuck in there. It just spins and spins. So, all right, I'll be back if I can get this thing out of here. This has been quite miserable. It has taken me almost 15 minutes to get this thing out of here. Whew. Okay, so what happens is it's got a washer there on that, actually a double washer on this screw, and it just got wedged down in there. It wouldn't come back out. So, whew, okay, regroup. So what we need to do is find the M5/16s without the washers on there and get those in here, because this has to lay flush. So keep that in mind whenever you go to put this on here. Do not put the ones with a washer. So it would be my suggestion to Sainsmart or Genmitsu to put those in a different bag so that people don't have that unpleasant experience there. Okay, finally got that in place. Very good. All right, now we have the lead screw coupler. So I'm going to go ahead and find the set screw in here and find the flat bar on the lead screw. Get that into position, and then use this tiny Allen wrench to tighten that down. There we go, that should be good. And then I will tighten the other pieces down here in just a moment. But all right, there's also a rubber gasket in here, and that is going to be placed right in here, and it's going to go between this plate and the Y stepper motor. Now on this, you'll notice that there is an open window. The instructions recommend that it goes facing this direction towards the left. So let me go ahead and match that up. Now I need to find where the set screw is. You'll have to take my word for it, but I've got it over here on this side. And now we're supposed to use these screws that do have that set of washers on there that we messed up on the previous one. Well, that should not have taken 20 minutes. I think I'm going to come back tomorrow and finish this up because that was frustrating. Okay, well, the Y motor is now on, and I was able to access the support up into here and get that locked down, and now this is working properly. So you can manually jog using this knob right here, and you can see this is now moving. Now it's time to install the left and right gantry support. So this one right here has a groove or a track down here that will go over the end of this metal piece. And the taper, as you can see right here, is supposed to go back towards the Y stepper motor. So if I get this right here lined up, I'm going to use these M520 screws to go in here. The instruction says to get these started but not all the way tightened. 4 of these on each side. I made sure that I did not tighten these all the way because it's time for the X-axis assembly. I've got that right over here. It is also quite heavy. The Genmitsu logo will go in the front, and you can make sure that it has been turned in the correct direction. And then I'm going to be using the M516 screws that do not have a washer on them. Go ahead and get these lined up here. This whole machine has a film over it, or an oil, and sometimes it makes it a little bit difficult to attach some of this hardware. After the X-axis has been assembled, it's time to go ahead and tighten down these lower M520. Just make sure those are nice and tight. Just like with the Y stepper motor, the X stepper motor is going to be mounted right here. Now, first of all, I'm going to put this rubber gasket seat up here, and then I'm going to put this lead screw coupler, and then I'm going to put the stepper motor in here, and we will lock down those set screws here in just a moment, but just want to get this into position. All right, so I've got the window facing the front, so I can get to it later if I need to. And now, like before, I've got the screws that do have the washers on there. Gonna line this up and get it tightened down. I've lined up that set screw with the flat portion of the stepper motor. Now I need to get my Allen wrench in here and tighten that down. And now I need to find the flat part of the lead screw in here and tighten that down as well. Lastly, it's time to install the Z stepper motor. Now, I have found that it's actually easiest to put this lead screw coupler on first before you get the rest of the stepper motor in, even though it's opposite from what the instructions say to do. But just tighten that down first, and now you can put your rubber seat on there. And this time it does say to have the opening towards the back. So let's do that. Find the flat part of my stepper motor. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and lock down that set screw before I, well, at least just get it in the right spot. There we go. Not locked down, but it is lined up. All right, once again, gonna put these screws with the washer on here. Now it's time to get the spindle holder on. I'm going to use some M512 screws here and get this attached. Now, using some M520 screws, I'm going to lock in the spindle. Let's go ahead and get these started in here. Okay, I can place the spindle down in here. For now, I'm just going to put it about right there. I suppose I can adjust that later on if need be. There are two X-axis limit switch plates. This is one of them. It's going to go over here next to the stepper motor. And I'm using the M58 screws to get that installed. I have two screws on this one. The other one is over here on this side. It's a little bit smaller, but also uses the M58 screws. So I'm going to get that right here. There are two Y limit switches that will be mounted to this piece right here. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the M320 Phillips head screws with the included screwdriver. So I just want to make sure that I have the limit switch facing towards the front and back of the machine. The included screwdriver was working, but not very well, so I swapped over to my own here. On the same side as those limit switches, there's also a Y limit switch plate that needs to go on the front and back of the unit. And this just goes here with the M410 screws right on this corner. This is what allows those limit switches to be triggered by this machine if you go too far forward or too far backwards. There are two drag chain mounts. This one right here goes real close to the bottom and uses the M516 without the washers on them. The other drag chain mount goes up here and uses the M512 screws. Let's get those up here. Now for shipping, the drag chain was split in half, and so I had to pop the two plastic pieces back together. But now I'm going to use some of these M46 screws right here to get this installed onto those mounting plates that were just put here. The screwdriver that came with the kit would work, but it's not really ideal, so I swapped over to my own here. Okay, now there's also the piece right here, which is going to hold the other end of this drag chain. Also using those same M46 screws. Alright, here is the X-axis drag chain. I'm going to be removing this piece of tape. Like I was saying earlier, whenever it was shipped, they had it in separate pieces, so you have to pull this apart here and then get this snapped back together. It's not super easy to do, but let's see what we can do here. Alright. Yeah, there we go. Not bad. All right. So one side is going to mount right here. The other end is going to slide up under this spot over here and then loop back around and attach right here. Each side of the machine has a dust baffle that needs an M512 screw. I'm going to go ahead and get those installed here. Now it's time to get the aluminum and MDF spoil board on here. This is going to be using the M525 screws. There's a bunch of those, so let's go ahead and get these installed. And the mechanical portion of the Genmitsu 6050 CNC is now complete. I think it has turned out very nice. Let's go ahead and move on to the wiring next. Alright, the first thing is to connect the Y limit switch. So I've got this right here. You can just plug that up. Pretty simple. And we'll just tuck that somewhere out of the way. And next we have the X limit switch right here. And that's just going to plug up to this. Very good. Okay, over here on the far side, hopefully you can see this, there is also the Z limit switch. Got that installed. Up here on top we have the Z motor. Going to get that one plugged up. Right down here we have the X motor. Get that one plugged up. On this back side, the Y stepper motor goes into this position right here. To connect the spindle, there's a black and red wire that comes off the drag chain. And you just match those up here and connect them together. So here is the red one right here and the black one right here. On the back of the control box there are several ports here. Let's start with this one right here. This is the spindle. I'm going to line up the the guide there and get this one plugged in. There we go. So next, this is the X motor. So let's rummage through the cables here and find the X motor. There we go. Got this one right here. Let's go ahead and plug this up. All right, over here, we've got the Y motor. Very nice. Moving over here, we've got the Z motor. I want to check. Okay, yes, it only allows you to put the wire into one direction. Next, we've got laser. I'm going to leave that one out because I don't have a laser. Here's the X limit. Moving over here, it's got the Y limit. Next is the Z limit. And lastly, this is the Z probe. And I don't have that installed. We'll have to do that at a later time. Up here, you've got your on and off switch and the power plug port. And here's a look at the final product of our assembly. Got PROVerXL 6050 Plus right there on the front. Got your spindle up here. Now if I were to jog this out of the way, it would reveal that it says Genmitsu under here. Right there. The spindle is adjustable. I could also adjust this up or down a little bit. I may come back with some cable ties to make sure all of these cables are up and out of the way. The drag chain is a fantastic piece to make sure that this does not get cables tangled up. Also works really well down here on this one. So as the Y motor is turned, it will unroll that chain. And this concludes the assembly of the Genmitsu 6050 CNC machine. This took a lot longer than I was anticipating, right at about 4 hours to get this all assembled. Now, of course, whenever I film, it slows down things a little bit, but definitely prepare for quite a while for this assembly. The next video I have will most likely be on my Land a House channel, where I am going to try to make some little shelf brackets with this machine, and it should be really fun. We'll go over the software portion of this and do our first project. I just wanted to post this assembly video here on SethCraft. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.